Today I want to talk about creating tech specs and what an engineer that will be engineering your gig might be looking for in a tech spec. When I was researching this video, I looked through some articles that were recommending things that you do and don't do for tech specs, and a lot of things that you will find online are asking you to do really in-depth things, like if you're playing an arena, kind of in-depth. Like they're saying, oh, you need to set exactly what mic you would like for miking up your tom drums and what stereo pair you'd like for your overheads and that kind of shit. Don't need that kind of stuff. So today we are going to create a tutorial for creating a tech spec for gigs at venues that have a capacity of up to 1,000 or so. Thank you. So let's give you a brief overview of what a tech spec actually is. This that you are seeing is a tech spec. It's what we're going to be creating today. It's just a document, ideally a PDF, but you can do it as a Word document or whatever. It's just a way of you getting information to an engineer that is going to be engineering your gig. The basis of a tech spec is to allow an engineer, before the gig happens, to know what kind of artist they're going to be working with. If you are a pop artist and you're going to be singing to a backing track, an engineer needs to know that you're going to be bringing a laptop and they're going to need the equipment necessary to get the audio from the laptop to the big speakers. Maybe you're an artist like Slipknot that's got 9 members and you need lots and lots of XLR cables and mics and things, and you've brought loads of instruments. Ideally, an engineer needs to know what they're working with before the gig starts. And a tech spec is the way in which you would relay that information. Each section in the tech spec really can be done in any order. There's not necessarily a specific way that every tech spec is. However, first we're going to talk about stage plans. A stage plan is basically just a diagram, doesn't need to be overly detailed, of what the stage will look like when you're on it. So that includes where's the drum kit. Generally this should just be in the same place for every artist, which is at the back. Some artists might request for it to be at the side of the stage, like what Royal Blood might do, where they've just got 2 members, so they will have a drummer at one side and the other member at the other side. But generally, drum kit in the middle. If the drummer happens to sing, you need to say that here. You need to say that you actually need a mic at the drum kit. And then you can lay out where the amps are going to be, where your pedal boards might be, where mics for the singer might be, all that kind of stuff. So you end up with kind of like a top-down view of what the stage would look like, with just little boxes representing each instrument or member or mic or whatever it is that you would actually have on stage. Next, you can go into a little bit of detail as to what it is that you've just put into that diagram. So for your drums, you can list out every kind of cymbal that you're going to have, how many toms you play with, if they're high toms, low toms, floor toms, are they attached to cymbal stands, anything odd that you might have like cowbells, that kind of stuff, because that will affect kind of where mics can be put or how many cymbal stands are going to be needed if the venue themselves are supplying the cymbal stands. There's a load of different things that could come into this, so mention as much as possible. This includes listing out your instruments and the amps that you're going to be bringing. Like me as a guitarist plays through 2 amps, so I would say that me as a member is bringing this guitar and also these 2 amps, and on the stage layout I would also put both of those amps on the diagram as well. If your vocalist or singer or whatever is going to bring their own mic, this is a good place to put that and just kind of let them know that you will be bringing your own mic. If your vocalist has an effects box, like a pedal that they use to put effects through, this is also a good place to put it. This is the place that you need to be putting if you've got a keyboard or a sample pad or any weird instruments that are going to need to be plugged in. So if you're using a sample pad, they don't have speakers built in. You can't mic up a sample pad. You hit it and nothing happens. You have to plug it in to whatever speakers you are using, which means that the engineer is going to need to plug it into the mixing desk, which is then going to come through the big front of house speakers. So you need to let them know that you have that and what output it is. It might be jack out, it might be XLR out, it might be mini jack out. You need to know that. And if there's multiple, list the multiple different ways so that the engineer can be prepared for when you turn up, because we have been at gigs before where someone has turned up and gone, oh, we've got this. And the engineer was like, well, you didn't tell me that you had it. And it's like, oh yeah, we always have it. It's like, okay, I don't have the equipment necessary to get that through the speakers because you didn't tell me. Please let your engineer know. This is also probably a good place to put any special requirements that you might have, like, oh, by the way, we have a left-handed drummer, because let's say the venue is supplying the drum kit or the headline band is supplying the drum kit, and your drummer is left-handed, that means that there needs to be time spent to take the drum kit apart, put it in reverse, and kind of put it back together. That can sometimes take a little bit of time. So if the person promoting the gig knows that, they can maybe dedicate an extra 5 or 10 minutes to your turnaround time to get that change done. Little side note, you don't have to mention this because generally a venue will do whatever the hell they want anyway, but if you do want to put where you ideally would like extension power leads to be, like if you've got a guitarist that runs a laptop for effects and also a pedal board and also something that I don't even know, like some like massive rig that they need a lot of power for, and they have like four different plugs to put in, you can request to say, oh, at this part of the stage can we have a power lead, but generally don't run the risk of this, bring your own, and maybe tell them that you're actually going to bring your own so that they don't have to panic about it and go out and buy a load if you were going to bring your own anyway. The last two things, which are the two things that I see less in tech specs, they're the two things that, because they don't seem overly obvious that they should be included, a lot of people don't include them, and that is links to your music. It's always helpful if an engineer has time to do so beforehand, that they actually get the opportunity to listen to your music. Some engineers won't do this and they're just too busy to think about listening to the music beforehand or whatever. They aren't being paid to do that, so they don't. Some engineers will love the idea of actually listening to your music before they hear you so that they can do their job properly, so that they can get the sound that you actually want out of the speakers. So if you can put in a few links, maybe even to live sessions if you've got them, or just recorded tracks, or anything that you've done that accurately proves your sound, that just shows this is what we sound like, so that they know that's what they need to be replicating. And last, which is kind of important but also should be accessible through other methods anyway, is your contact details. If you need to be rang, if you need to be emailed, please have at least 2 members or 1 member and a manager's contact details on there, because the engineer might need to get in touch with you to go, you said this in the tech spec, what do you mean? Or in the tech spec you said this, I already have that, so you don't need to bring that. Or you said in the tech spec you've got all these drums, we're providing the drum kit, is that okay? Loads of little stuff that might need to just be checked up on to make sure that you don't have to hire a bigger van, or you don't have to do multiple trips with your equipment or whatever. Like, this is always very helpful to just have a bit more communication after you've sent the tech spec if something needs clarifying. So put your contact details in the tech spec so that someone doesn't have to run around and try and find where your number is. By all means, spend as much time as you want on the tech spec to make it look as pretty as possible. If you want, export it as a PDF. If you export it as a .pdf, it means that it can't be edited afterwards by someone who's organizing the gig, so it stays as your actual tech spec. Yeah, like as much as I say, try and make it look as good as possible. Try and make it look as presentable as possible without actually sacrificing what it's there for, kind of thing, because it doesn't need to look overly pretty. It's there for information. It needs to be as clear as possible, and anything that you can do in the design of it to actually make it more clear is better than actually making it more pretty. Cool. I hope that helped, because yeah, when I was looking through this, I did a lot of research into what other people recommend for tech specs, and there were so many things that went into so much information, and you don't really need to do that for the smaller venues that you're playing. Generally, they will have kind of a routine of, oh, we already have a drum kit and a bass amp, or oh yeah, no, we never supply a drum stool or whatever, and you won't know their setup until you play at that venue, or at least you get in touch with them about playing at the venue. So just having one tech spec that's just, here's everything that we need, including mics, isn't that useful for some venues, because they'll be like, well, we're not going to go out and buy some new mics just to please your tech spec. So it's worth thinking about that. Maybe sometimes you're going to need to make compromises on what you put in your tech spec, but provided that you actually tell the people who are promoting the gig that oh, if there's anything in this tech spec that you want to like change around or whatever, like just get in touch with us. That's cool. That's way better than just being like, no, we said we needed a D112 on our kick drum, so therefore we're only going to play the gig if you do that for us, because yeah, don't be that band. Cool. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more videos from this series, click on that side of the screen. If you want to see our best of playlist, click on that side of the screen. And don't think I actually have anything else to say here today. So thank you for watching. Bye bye.